Welcome to the Spark Podcast, powered by Dynamic Lifecycle Innovations. This is where recycling leaders ignite ideas, strategies, and stories that drive real change. Joining us is Casey Hines, Recycling Sales Executive at Dynamic, with practical insights to help you serve residents and reach your goals.
Hi, I'm Nikki Teachout, Sales Operations Manager at Dynamic, and I'm here today with Casey to dive into community-based recycling programs. So let's get started. So Casey, why is e-waste such a critical issue right now for communities across the country?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons, really. The first kind of being that technology is constantly advancing, so there's constantly more and more electronics coming through our waste streams. But the second is really more about having somewhere for these electronics to properly go, right? So we don't want them going into the land. We don't want them getting dumped into our waterways where these problematic materials, harmful substances can be leaching out and getting into our drinking water or our ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So what exactly qualifies as e-waste, and why is it important to dispose of it responsibly?
So really at Dynamic, we look at e-waste in one of three ways. Does it run off a battery? Does it have a power cord that it can plug in and run off of? Or does it have some sort of circuit board or circuitry to it? And then I think the reason that it's important to responsibly recycle these materials is something that I already alluded to, which is that they're made, not all, but a lot of the electronics are made with a lot of harmful components, things that, again, if they're leaching out, getting into our water, getting into our ground, it could be problematic for those that live in those communities.
Yeah, wonderful. So how are municipalities currently handling e-waste, and where do you think the biggest gaps and challenges are?
So there's a few different things that the communities are currently doing. Some communities don't really have an infrastructure in place, so they are operating out of this collection event model where a company will come and operate a one-day event for them. Some communities do have a regular drop-off point where residents can come in on set days of the week and bring their electronics and dispose of them that way. Otherwise, there are some different hybrid models where maybe there's a local garbage company that will come and pick those up for them. So those are really the main ways that communities are dealing with the e-waste currently.
Yeah. And what would you say are the biggest challenges that they're facing?
I think that one of the largest challenges is really the space and manpower to handle the material. So if you're a community if your community doesn't have a regular shed or facility where these electronics can be brought, that's a problem. Where you're going to store them. Also, if your resources are limited and you don't have full-time employees that you can dedicate to that area to collect those electronics as they're brought in, that can be difficult and can be a challenge for the community as well.
So what makes e-waste collection events an effective tool for communities?
Yeah, I think they can be effective tools because it doesn't require some of those components that we talked about earlier, which you don't have to have a regular facility that's open all year round. You don't have to have your own set of dedicated employees that are going to be there managing those e-waste. You can work with a company or a partner that's going to come in on a dedicated date and time and bring in their whole or a crew that can handle the collection and packaging and removal of those electronics for you. So it's a lot more of a hands-off approach, but still providing that the ability to serve your community and get rid of those problematic electronics.
Mm-hmm. So can you walk us through how a typical electronics recycling event is planned and executed?
Yeah, it does take a lot of communication between whoever is managing that from the community side, working with a company like Dynamic, going through the different parts of your community, where you look to hold the event, what that space looks like. Do you have the ability for Dynamic or a company to drop trailers to facilitate the collection? Do you have any volunteers that you'd be able to provide? What other tools do you have at your disposal that you can provide to help eliminate some of the costs that may be incorporated there? But really, at the end of the day, it just boils down to a lot of communication, the willingness to plan out, be a part of that planning process, and just let the company know what you can and can't do, and then help them work through any of those gaps to make a successful event.
Yeah. And I always like to say too, like the customer experience is really important in those scenarios, right?
Yeah.
It's the one opportunity that we have as a recycling company and as other recycling companies have to get out in front of the community instead of just working with other businesses and larger entities. So it's also really special in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what kind of electronics can residents usually bring to these events?
Yeah, typically a lot of the events that we see, specifically here in Wisconsin, are geared towards those sort of household electronics. So obviously your computers and your televisions. A lot of appliances are accepted at these as well. So microwaves, toasters, blenders, things of that nature. And then from there, again, it kind of goes back to some of the planning purposes, what you do want to open it up for and what you don't want to open up for. You can get into some of the more problematic materials, such as batteries and lamps. You can take some of the larger appliances that are going to obviously take up more space on your trailer and going to require a bit more handling. But you can take things such as refrigerant-containing appliances, washers, dryers, things of that nature. So really, if you kind of go back to what we consider electronics, really anything that runs off a battery, has circuitry, or can plug into an outlet, those are all eligible electronics that could be collected at an event.
Yeah, great. How do these events align with broader environmental or regulatory goals at a local level?
Yeah, so there are a lot of the states here in the U.S. do require that electronics get properly recycled and don't go into landfills. So obviously there is that component of them, of the events that it is helping getting rid of these electronics or materials that you can't otherwise dispose of in your landfill. From a more local level, I think, again, if you have a community where you don't have a regular drop-off facility or a point of collection for these types of materials for your residents, it is providing that service. It's a place for them to come and conveniently get rid of everything all at one time.
Mm-hmm. And how have you seen these events help build awareness or change behavior around recycling?
Yeah, I think in some of the more rural communities, obviously, if there is a problematic material for folks to get rid of, it's very easy to maybe take it out to a back 40 or an area where people aren't necessarily regularly going, and just place it in a ditch in the hopes that maybe you come back and get it later. But really, what these events do is it gives a good outlet for residents to properly dispose of electronics. And again, it's a good space and time for them to get rid of multiple things, multiple problematic materials that otherwise they're struggling to find resources to. I think probably the most advantageous component of it is that these events can shift, right? It doesn't need to be in the same place, same time, same location every year. So if you have a large county where maybe folks from the northern side of the county struggle to get down to the southern side for an event or for a drop-off location, you can shift these events around and you can put it in an area that's maybe more convenient for a larger population of your county or community.
Yes. Flexibility is the name of the game when it
Absolutely.
comes to collection events.
Absolutely.
So for budget-conscious municipalities, how do e-waste collection events offer a cost-effective solution?
Yeah, I think the events are nice because, again, you're not putting your time and resources into a permanent facility that needs to be staffed or open certain days of the week all year round. You can really just plan out an event for once a year, twice a year, really what makes the most sense for you. But again, you have the ability to then provide resources as you have them available. So if you have volunteers in the community that are willing to help out an event, that can bring down some of the costs because you're not your recycler isn't having to send out as many people to collect on your behalf. If you have a forklift available that you can donate for that day, anything like that does help bring down some of the costs. So really the resources or the planning that kind of go into it and that you're able to help provide can again kind of help bring some of those costs down.
Wonderful. Are there grant programs or partnerships that can help offset costs for communities?
Yeah, so I certainly suggest the communities reach out to your local governing body here in Wisconsin, that is the DNR. They do, from time to time, offer different grant programs that help cover some of the costs that go along with collection events. In Wisconsin, I believe they did just open up another round of grant funding where communities can apply for that and get coverage on different things like some of the transportation costs, some of the labor costs, things of that nature.
So what is one thing you wish every municipal leader understood about managing e-waste?
I think the biggest thing for everybody to understand is that it's not a one person job. It's not a one man job. Reach out to your potential partner, electronics recycler on an event, and really talk with them through the planning stages, and really try to learn what can be done from your partner's side of it. So don't feel like you need to come in with an entire plan and understand fully how an event works, or the necessary day-to-day logistical side of how an event will get operated. Reach out, work through that planning with your recycling partner, because in most cases they've been there, they've done that, they've got a lot of experience in this area. So I think just understanding that you're not alone in sort of this recycling effort is very important, and don't hesitate to ask the questions.
Absolutely. I think we often hear from the community when we do collection events, or when we help a county or municipality and support them in one of theirs. The community is very grateful,
Mm-hmm.
and they like to be engaged and ask a lot of questions,
Yeah.
right? Because some of them are well versed in these recycling efforts, and some of them are just learning, right? And so it's a great way to get the community out, get them involved. And I think that you'll find that a lot of these community members are really supportive of these efforts, and will come out and support.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Are there any trends or changes in regulation that local governments should be preparing for?
Not necessarily needing to be preparing for it at this point, but obviously there's a lot more attention to battery recycling. As more and more of these electronics are being powered off of lithium batteries, we're seeing more of these batteries land in places they shouldn't, backs of garbage trucks, things like that, which is causing fire hazards for a lot of these tipping floors, other recyclers, anybody that's really managing the electronics or waste streams in one way or another. So certainly I think our governing bodies are going to be starting to put more attention and effort into that, and ensuring that residents are properly disposing of their batteries, but also their battery containing devices.
Yes. I know quite frequently we hear about battery challenges,
Yeah.
and our customer base asking for support or answers around what do we do with these, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so being collaborative with your recycling partner in that way is really important.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're nearing the end of our time together here. I just have a couple final questions for you, Casey. Sure. So if a city or county is considering their first e-waste event, what is your biggest piece of advice?
I think the biggest piece of advice when looking at an event for the first time is trying to figure out an idea or a location more so that's going to be able to encompass more of your community. So obviously try to hold it in a convenient place that's going to be a little bit off the beaten path, so your traffic isn't getting backed up, but you're going to be in an area where you can access more of your community and really give that opportunity to the most people possible.
Yes. There's been, I think, a lot of trial and error over the years in regards to where the best place is to do these. So I think we've got that narrowed down pretty well at this point, but we're always looking for different places and ways to improve those locations.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Extremely important. So where can listeners learn more or get started if they want to plan an event?
Yeah, absolutely. So Dynamic has a team of folks here that are actively planning and working on events on our behalf. So, please don't hesitate to reach out to Dynamic, whether it's through our website, through any of the representatives that maybe you have contact information for, and we'd be happy to set you up with our collection event team to begin the planning process.
Wonderful. And we do, over 100 events a year. So Dynamic is very well versed in execution on these events, and we love collaborating and partnering with our customer base on these events.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And thank you, Casey. You shared a lot of great info today.
You're welcome.